Following protests, boycotts, and campaigning, women in Saudi Arabia are now legally allowed to drive, ending a 27-year fight. Today I'm going to discuss one of the largest and most impactful changes in policy affecting this great nation. After thorough research of their background, culture, government, and their decision making, I've gained quite a bit of interest and knowledge into this topic and its surroundings. First, I'm going to talk about the history of the ban. Second, I'm going to discuss what led to the change in policy. And then finally, I'm going to discuss the projected changes for the future of this country. And to understand why this was enacted, it's better to understand how it was enacted. There is no sign posted, a statement released, or a policy keeping women from driving outright. There is not an amendment, women are not allowed to drive. However, there is a policy keeping them from being certified, from obtaining a license, and this license, similar to the U.S., allows them to drive. Punishments also vary. So in the U.S., whenever you get pulled over, even if you don't have a license, if you're speeding, driving recklessly, not wearing a seatbelt, you're going to get a ticket, a fine, maybe go to court, and at the worst, spend a night in county jail. However, for women, driving carefully on the highway, not speeding, wearing their seatbelt, they're going to get pulled over for simply driving. And their punishments, however, are greater. They can get stoned, and yes, for you scratching your head, that is still a thing. That is still something that happens in modern times. So they can get stoned. They can spend lengthy amount of times in jail. I'm not talking about overnight. I'm talking about an extended amount of time. And finally, they can get shunned from their family. This is a very traditional, not progressive country, and they're still very much instilled in their roots. Therefore, people are going to want to keep to what has been passed, to what has been the norm, the social norm for 27 years. They're going to want this to stay in effect. They don't want to progress. Second of all, the government knew that they were not in the best PR standpoint globally. They knew how people appeared them. People these days are very much in a bandwagon effect. Whether it's a movement, an idea, a change, everybody jumps in. Everybody is on this modern progressive train. And this country, Saudi Arabia, who is not progressing, who is still very traditional, very conservative, they are not favored in the country. They're not favored in the world. The government knows that. So this change is the first step to hopefully driving tourism. They know it's not at its peak, and they want to see it grow. They want more visitors to come. They are wanting to welcome people. But people are not going to want to go to a traditional country when they are progressing in their own. Another thing, what we can project to see in the future. Women are now allowed to drive cars, which means more women are now going to be able to work. Having one car in the family, one man driving, they weren't allowed to work. There was no means to get to work. But now that they can drive, there's going to be more money in the household, which means more money spent, which means people are buying things, people are selling things. It's going to generate movement in their economy that they haven't seen before. It's going to present more opportunities and more strength to their economy. Second of all, now that women are allowed to drive and go to work, they're going to be able to afford and they're going to be allowed to buy a car. Buying a car, more selling, which means more cars are needed, which means there's going to be more jobs. It's going to generate jobs, and the employment rate is going to skyrocket in this country. It's going to drive the car business quite high, and we can see great economic success entirely, not just for this industry. Overall, this was a business, this was a in-the-making thing for 27 years, for one day. September 26th. Took 27 years to get to this one day. So what is it going to be 27 years from now? Are we going to see more bans lifted? Are we going to see more movements? Are we going to see them more progressively? Or is it going to be 27 years before we see another great change? This could possibly enact a reform. This could possibly generate a women's rights movement. You never know. 27 years from now, what is this country going to be?